Could you imagine being early on the internet?
Oh,
That would
I
have
would
been
have loved
amazing.
that. Are you kidding?
I'd be Gary V. But that's where we are right now with some of this AI stuff. If you're just listening to this podcast and trying some things, you're already at the tip of the spear. You're already at the 1% of the 1%. Just keep going.
How do you know when to trust your taste versus what AI is telling you?
I don't mean to be crass, but Seth Godin has a great quote. If we split test every website feature over time and we just let it keep going with the best thing, every website would end up being pornography. I was like, Seth, that's a wild take. Also might be true.
Hello, I'm Brianna Doe, and this is Stop the Scroll. So let's get into the content that makes us stop, click, and care. So today's episode is actually less like a Stop the Scroll episode and more like a marketer therapy session. I think for those of you who don't know, Brendan Hufford is one of the coolest people I've ever met. So after spending the first decade of his professional career as a high school teacher, you then led SEO at 2 agencies and then an active campaign, which was awesome. And since 2021, he has founded and run growth sprints, where he works with SaaS companies, helping them scale from 10 mil to 100 mil ARR. Today, well, first off, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
We were chatting about this briefly, but you mentioned like everybody's so obsessed with tooling and AI optimization. And you said something interesting that's great, but we're kind of missing the foundations and you think it's going to get worse. So I'm very curious as a marketer, what you mean by that.
Yeah, I think these tools are really, really good at helping us move faster and make more and all of these other things. But it's really just, in a lot of cases, it's mass production. And if we don't understand foundations and fundamentals, if we're using it for creation, it's going to create things that don't pass what I think is the biggest skill right now, not to be, a hand wavy woo woo marketer, but I think taste matters more than ever. Like, do you know what good looks like? Can you help bridge that gap? And if you can, then you can use technology to do more of it, do it better and faster. But if you don't have taste, then, I'm not trying to be like Rick Rubin here, where it's like, I don't actually know how to do anything. I just know what I like. Right. But a little bit, that's true. Or even if you're using it for all the other things, if you're not using it for content creation, which I don't think is the strongest AI tooling use case personally, if you're using it for all the other things we need to do in marketing, if you don't understand foundations, then you're going to get back information. It's going to very confidently tell you things, but you're not going to be able to gut check whether it's right or wrong, which in some cases could cost you your job. So I take that very seriously.
Well, I think too, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I am actually beyond grateful that AI wasn't really available when I was first starting in my career, because I also did graphic design when I first started, and I hated it. I have so much respect for designers because could not be me. But like I learned so much about figuring out when something looks good, what doesn't, what sounds right, how to make things visually appealing, and how to tell a story with what you're creating. And that translates obviously to written and video. But if I'd had AI to help me, I think I would have just been really stunted. And so I do worry about, like younger or earlier career marketers who are kind of just handed AI right at the start. Because you kind of have to go through the grunt work, I think, to really develop that taste that you're referring to. And I do think it's important.
I've actually been really trying to study that and understand it. I don't know if this is where things are going, but it's just kind of me following what I'm interested in right now. So I've really started to study and think about like, how do we develop taste? And how do we develop taste in, anything? The people who are amazing chefs, how did they develop their taste? And sommeliers and all these other like really cool, interesting professions, how do they develop their style? Where did that come from? It usually comes from trying on a lot of different outfits, eating a lot of different foods, being exposed to a lot of different things. And what's hard is that we have a junior class of people coming in with all of this tooling, no taste, not enough wisdom, experience yet. The senior level people that they're working for are too fucking busy to consume anything, right? I ask them every time I onboard a new client, or I even do discovery call, I always ask, what do you like? What's your taste? As marketers, we want to be proud of the work. We also want to we want to be proud of, you know what I mean? We want to be able to show everybody else. We want it to have an impact is the second piece. And sometimes these senior people are like, oh, I don't have time to consume anything. I don't watch YouTube. I don't scroll social media. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't read newsletters. I don't do any of that stuff. And I'm like, ooh, that's not great. First of all, your job should make that part of your job, is like experiencing these things. Second of all, I get it. I always sit on the side of the table with marketers, right? Nothing but love and empathy. So I get that too. But I worry that we're headed in a bad direction when both of those things, junior and senior level marketers, are true at the same time.
What's your taste? Like, what do you like? What is your taste in long form video content?
Okay. So I have a very unique taste in that if not everything has to be long form, like I've so often taken transcripts from YouTube, put them into Claude and been like, just give me the answer. I don't have 23 minutes to watch this thing to figure out something. But I watch a lot of different stuff. I watch a lot of my kids and I paint these like little models called Warhammer, which is like a really popular hobby. You paint them, you build them, you collect them, and then they battle each other. It's super fun. But I watch people like building them and converting them into other things. Really like 23 minutes of people just building models and talking through it and taking bits and pieces from other sets. And I just like love that. I love the enthusiasm of the hobby. I also like, I wouldn't call it long form. I still love vlogs. I think vlogs are so interesting. I came up in early vlogging YouTube, like even pre Casey Neistat and stuff, and loved a bunch of different like vloggers. And I still think that is really interesting, especially Casey Neistat is a really good storyteller. Most of his stuff for a very long time was just shot on his phone. So it wasn't a technology thing, it was a storytelling thing, right? I learn a lot from all of that sort of stuff.
I feel like a lot of people, if I ask them that question, wouldn't have such an in-depth answer. This is kind of a sidebar, but I think it's kind of related. Like, do people have hobbies anymore? And if not, is that what we're outsourcing to AI to? Like, is our hobby AI?
I hope not. I do. I like playing with it. You know, like I literally have like a Mac Mini sitting here from Perplexity, and I'm like playing around with that. Like it is a hobby. I do want to learn this tooling and stuff. But I also think all of this other stuff, right? Like the Hamilton stuff and Ted Lasso and all these books. And I love fantasy, not like really cool fantasy and sci-fi novels and stuff like that. I read a lot about stoicism. I have a lot of coffee table books. I'm obsessed with just big, chunky coffee table books. I don't know. I've always been very fortunate that I've pulled from all these different areas. I came up in like streetwear, we could call it. And even this, so this is a sweatshirt I have on, this sweater. It says Cassie's Bologna Razor Master course. Not an actual thing, not real. But it comes, he's a character in this book series that I love called Red Rising. And this is like a pretend if he were to have a course of how to learn, you know, like he's like a martial arts instructor or something.
Interesting.
I love stuff like that, right? So I'm constantly looking at all these different things, and streetwear is really good at biting from other things. They'll take their logo, do it in the style of Disney. They'll do it in the style of this other thing. There's a lot of nuance and ripping off of other things and just kind of learning by tracing. That's how you learn how to draw, especially little kids. They'll just trace things a bunch. Then eventually they start to develop their own taste, their own style. And I think that's where, I mean, you even hear it with copywriting, like copy work of just sit down and hand write out. My buddy Eddie Schlainer put me onto this. It was just like writing out great copywriting. There's a thing when you do it with your hands that just makes it a part of your brain as opposed to just reading it on a screen. So yeah, all of that plays into all of this. And I think it is hard if all you're consuming is the output of AI tools.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think you made a really good point in passing about how, even with the Mac Mini and Perplexity, how you are still diving into AI and learning and understanding it. I am too. Like, I think, so for me, one thing I'm obsessed with and always have been are like deep dive movie analyses that kind of contextualize the movie within the time period in which it takes place and the time period in which it's released. I'm trying to learn how to vibe code. So I'm creating this platform for myself where I can store all of my movie analyses and reviews, and then it will start to tell me who I am as a movie watcher and like as a cinephile. So I'd say that to say, I think there's a lot of value in learning AI, and obviously it's not going away. But to your point, you still have to have tastes.
Yeah, I recently found this tiny YouTube channel. There's a bunch of videos, not a lot of subscribers. And what he does is he goes through, I really like action movies. And he goes through these movies, he analyzes all the firearms that they use and what the choice of firearms tells you about that character. And I would have never known that. But really, if you know those things, if you know about firearms, which I don't, and it's just really interesting for me, you're like, I now know way more about that person because of the way they're holding that gun and the fact that they're using that one and not the more common one. Or like even there's like a bank robber movie. One of these, the gun he's holding is $7,000. Like he's not a street thug. He's a professional. Anyways, I love stuff like that. The film critiques and stuff. One of my favorite, I forget the name of the channel. One of my favorite long form YouTube videos is this video called How David Fincher Hijacks Your Eyes. David Fincher did Fight Club, Social Network. It's one of my favorite things. And I'm also obsessed with that type of content. How X does Y is like my favorite style of content. And the fact that he broke it down and then Meta did it as he was explaining it, it's so good. It's so good. But that's the thing. You have to consume this stuff.
I think I watched that same video because I remember a part about Seven and how he shows like the way that they're
like who's being shot up, who's being shot down, and then at some point it switches, and you're like, "Whoa, there's a power dynamic change." I didn't know it; I just felt it.
Exactly. Oh, I love stuff like that. Okay, I am curious. What does your feed look like right now in terms of AI and marketing content?
If we talk about LinkedIn specifically, it's a hot mess, and we're not gonna whatever. The note has been made that the feed fucking sucks, but one thing I do to have a better feed on LinkedIn is I simply follow everybody and I set up notifications for everybody. So I get a lot of notifications. If people I like, as soon as their post goes live, it lets me know. Or at the end of the day, I can just look through my notifications and click on all the posts of people I like. So it's fine. My feed looks alike a lot, maybe two buckets right now, is people trying cool things and sharing what they learned. And then the other bucket, the bucket that I hate and want to just yeet into the sun, is the bucket of people being like, you can replace your whole product team. You could replace your old SEO team. Social media marketing is dead because Claude just, and they like give you some whiz bang complicated, like, look at this insane graph that is in low resolution, so you can't even read it. And it's like, ugh, come on. And people, and of course it's engagement ransom, so you got to comment to get it, which is just the worst experience on that platform.
And then you never get it.
And you never get it. And even when you do, it's like this file that I want you to inject into Claude. And it's like, I'm not doing that. That seems like a really bad idea to not understand this thing and just start adding other people's files into my Claude instance. And it's also never anybody that's ever done that fucking job before. It's always, I'm in the SEO world a lot, right? And it's like always replace your SEO team, SEO on autopilot, all this stuff. And you look at the person's background, and of course they're an AI influencer now, but previously they were a social media intern for 6 months. That's their marketing background. And I'm like, no, or they're a developer, a well-meaning developer, but not a marketer, no background in the thing they're saying this thing replaces. It's just slop of like, I trained this AI on all these 27 amazing people, and you can get it if you just opt in. And I'm like, so you just stole their IP and now you're making me comment to get it? This is so weak. I think that's where, just looping back, that's where we miss it with the shortcut of like, why actually learn from humans when I can just download tons of stuff, feed it into Claude and be like, tell me what they would say. It's interesting and there's value there, but it's not, you skipped the first 8 steps.
Well, there's this, I'm blanking on the stats right now, but I'd written an article for Stop the Scroll, like the newsletter a couple of months ago. And the irony does not escape me that I'm not remembering. You'll understand why. But basically, I did a bunch of research on the impact of AI usage on our brains. And there was a study done on university students that had half the students use AI to like work on a paper, research it, produce the final product. And then half of the students did not. They had to use like books, the internet, but like no artificial intelligence. Something like 80 to 85% of the students who use AI for their paper wrote a good paper, but also did not retain any of the information. So they couldn't actually go back and then like reiterate to their professor what the paper was on or what they had learned, versus like something like 5 to 10% of the students that didn't use AI had that issue. And so I think it's interesting. It makes me think of that because it's not even just that you're using AI to do this work, but you're also now removing any chance of you retaining the information. So you're not actually like getting better at your job. You're just getting better at prompting.
I think marketing is all about maybe 2 things. One is pattern recognition. I've seen this before. I know what this is. I know how to apply and fix and whatever. So you have to develop good pattern recognition, and then making connections. Like we talked about, I can connect streetwear to a sci-fi novel, to Warhammer, to a film, to 6 other things. And that's what made that carousel interesting that you just looked at on LinkedIn. It's hard for me to explain. I could deconstruct why all of these things had input there. And the problem is when you're not developing the pattern recognition, you also don't know that was also a teacher for 10 years. There's nobody that hates rote memorization more than me. I think it's a dead skill. There's no reason to memorize the first 20 presidents in order. Full stop. Unacceptable. But if you don't know who any of the presidents are and you've never studied them, you're going to miss out on important lessons. And that's where we get to where we are politically and socially, where it's like, hey, we have seen this story before. Everybody's being like, hey, pattern recognition. And people are like, oh, this is fine. That's my voice for those guys. We're good. This is going to be great. But my point is, with marketing specifically, is that we have to have that sort of piece of, I can connect multiple things and make this new thing. And when you don't actually know anything, you have to know some things. You don't have to have rote memorization, but the more you know about a bunch of different things, the more likely that you're going to be able to make, like, there's nothing new, but a lot of the new stuff that feels interesting is somebody combining 6 other things in a unique way that feels interesting, makes us feel something. That's where the tooling, we have to have that foundation first.
If a marketer is listening to this right now and they're being told by their like manager or CEO, hey, I saw this post, it says we don't need these tools anymore, just use AI. Like, what do you think they need to hear? What would you say to them?
Number one, I understand that, but I'm my own boss currently, and I'm a terrible boss to myself. So I'm always feeling like I'm behind, need to work harder, need to know more, need to produce more. And only recently have I given myself permission not to, and just kind of like enjoy this ride a little bit. But so I get that. I get having a terrible boss. I've had them. I am one. But I would also say that the biggest thing that we want to be able to show them, like if they're saying, hey, you have to adopt AI or you have to do these other things, awesome. But do that with other things you like. It's really good at saying, if you can give it good, again, outputs are inputs. If you can give it really interesting, unique things, hey, what if we did, just chat with it. Hey, what if we tried this? What if I did that? If you work with other humans, ask them. That's better than asking Chatty G or Claude or whoever. I always feel like Claude's like Uncle Claude. He's like an uncle.
Claude's a diva.
At
least mine is. Mine is sassy as hell.
You get inputs and outputs, right? You can chat with it and be like, what if we tried this? What about this? What about this other thing? And you'll quickly realize it does not know as much as you know about the topics you know about, but you can get some really interesting angles and stuff. Show that to your boss. Hey, I'm trying to adopt this, but instead of just getting this stuff back or trying to make it the most efficient, hey, we fed it our product docs and our this and our that, and we did customer interviews, all correct things. But it's like, what if we took have you ever heard Derek Sivers had a company ages and ages ago called CD Baby. And when you ordered a CD from the company, they would send you this hilarious email that I have stolen for every business that I've ever worked on. That was like, oh, we have, our CD polishers took your CD off the shelf. And it just made this elaborate story of how the CD was going to get to them and how there's like 90 people with it. It sounded like Willy Wonka. It was crazy. But everybody loved it. And they would reply to the email and they would share the email online and stuff like that. This like surprise and delight. There's all of these moments for that. And AI doesn't come up with that on its own. But if you know about that, because you just heard me talk about it and you're Googling it probably as you're listening to this or watching this, now take that. Hey, how do we do that? Maybe you've never heard of surprise and delight before. It's a marketing concept. Now you're learning that. Like, let's use AI for some of these things, but we have to know the problem is it's going to give us back something. It never goes, I can't do that unless you're out of credits, Claude. And when it gives you it back, you're the one that has to go, yes, 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 no, yes, no, no, no.
How do you know when to trust your taste versus what AI is telling you? Or like how to balance the two?
That's a really good question. I don't think that the old answer was, we'll just split test it. And I don't mean to be crass, but Seth Godin has a great quote that was, if we split test every website feature over time and we just let it keep going with the best thing, like every website would end up being pornography. And I was like, Seth, that's a wild take. Also might be true.
Yeah.
Just look for like what got the most clicks, it gets very reductive after a while. So you can't split test everything. You have to have opinions. But I tend to trust my gut based on pattern recognition of being rewarded for trusting my gut on things. And I have leaned into what I've seen working, which is more, it sounds so trite, but like more human, less contrived, less robotic type of stuff, especially on LinkedIn, places like that. The weird stuff is doing great. The stuff that where it's like, there is no way, there's nobody else that sounds like this person. I follow, I think her name's Jillian Richardson, and Jillian's fantastic. I think her headline says it's just content, relax your butthole. So aggressive. And I love it, right? But that's how she writes all the time. And there's no way that anybody wrote that other than her, right? So you feel that connection. And I think sometimes if you're writing for Microsoft, maybe not unhinged, maybe Microsoft is not unhinged or whomever. But the more that I've trusted my gut on things and angles and stuff, here's the best thing. Do it for yourself. First of all, nobody needs my permission, but if you've been waiting for permission, do the stuff for yourself. If you're a marketer, you have the freedom, the tooling, the technology, whatever, to try everything for yourself first. If you can't do it at work, you can do it for yourself. You can try that weird carousel idea. You can post that weird post. You can make that weird video. You can build that weird website. You can do it all for yourself. You can do it using AI, right? I can use Lovable to spin up a weird website in, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes, 5 minutes, something. Probably less if I was good at it. But there's no reason not to. You can try all of these things for yourself. And then you have your own proof point of like, hey, I tried this. It worked. I can now take that to my boss and be like, hey, this weird thing seems to work. Can I lean in more here? I've been fortunate. I think you've probably experienced this too, where you have clients that are like down for a little weird. And then you try it with them and you're like, oh, wow, when I trust my gut, it turns out I do know what people really want. I'm really on to something here. And then you can put that across everything, right? It's like, okay, cool. This becomes an ethos. This becomes like a core value of mine. That this is how I feel about content. This is how I feel about a specific channel. This is how I feel about whatever, our audience, right? I made these bets and it's paid off and we're going to keep leaning in with that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think as you were talking, I was thinking about Brianna from 10, 15 years ago who had first started her career. And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't trust my gut then, but I think that mostly stemmed from fear, right? Marketing is notoriously known for having turnover. Like job security is basically non-existent now, unfortunately. But at the same time, if possible, find an environment you can work in where you are allowed to experiment or at least like bring ideas. And when you find that environment, then you have to lean into it. Like you kind of have to, not to sound cliche, but you kind of have to embrace the fear a little bit. And to your point, you can mitigate that fear by doing it for yourself first. So I really like that.
There's a Cal Newport book. I've never read it, but I read the title and it's Be So Good They Can't Ignore You. And I've thought about that a lot in my career of like, how do I be so big or so good that I'm unignorable? And I've done big projects, right? If you're early in your marketing career, do a 100-day project. Do something for 100 days, even if it's posting on LinkedIn. I decided, like an absolute psychopath, to create a YouTube video, a podcast episode, a blog post, all 3 of those for 20 weeks. So 5 days a week times 20 weeks, 100 days. And I sent out a weekly newsletter. And it was a breakout moment in my career. It's an obscene amount of work. People love to follow along. It's day 47. It's day 63. People are like, of what? What has been going on that I've been missing? It's 100 days. This is crazy. I called it 100 days of SEO. And I met a lot of people. I got a lot of job offers. I picked up sponsors. I had no business. I told Ahrefs that I would spray paint their logo on my dog if they wanted. I was just like, let's make this happen. I literally photoshopped my dog laying down with their logo on his side. It was so bad. Spray paint my dog. Don't do that. But that project was really breakout because I just did it for myself. And I learned a lot of like how to do thumbnail design and how to edit videos poorly, how to write newsletters, how to do all these things. I just was like, I'm going to do everything. And it was really hard. And it went through fits and starts and all this stuff, but I learned a ton. And it was so much that a lot of people took notice. I think that's a really nice way to, it could be a 30-day project, but I think there's something about 100 that lives in such a different place. You know, if you did a 50-day project, for whatever reason, 100 is only double that, but it feels like 10 times bigger, you know? So I love that sort of thing. Do something for 100 days, document your journey, learn, share internally what you're learning and stuff like that at your company. There's really no downside. But I also always try to couch this with like, there's some marketers that just want to do their job and go home. They don't love this. Respect, no problem. I'm also thinking about that, and I'm like, they're not listening to this podcast. So I'm not talking to them right now. I'm talking to people like you and me who like see the world through this lens.
Yeah, I love that. You're actually inspiring me to do my own 100-day challenge, probably with Instagram, but we'll see.
You should totally do it. I've thought about it. I have these really cool ideas for like hobby TikToks and Instagrams. And I made a couple videos and I was like, oh, I can't sustain this, but I desperately want to. So maybe over the next year, I make 100 of them and then release them 100 days in a row just to see what happens.
That's actually a really good idea.
Yep.
That would be fun. I would follow along. Question for you. So going back to something you said earlier, I see those posts too. Like, I spent weeks studying XYZ, or like, here's how to replace your team. No, you didn't. Please. You did not. You spent like 30 seconds. I always wonder when I see those posts, what do you think the people posting that are actually optimizing for? Do you think it's just engagement?
It feels good. If you look back, there's a couple of my posts where I did that exact same thing, years ago, maybe 2020, 2021. And I'm not above it. I then sent them out to everybody who commented. It's awful. This is how I know that whole thing is awful. It's awful for the person sending it. It's awful for the person receiving it. It just sucks. But I also followed up with everybody that I sent it to and said, hey, how'd you like it? And then they sent me a little thing back and I said, hey, can I put that as a testimonial on a landing page for this when I use it as a lead magnet? And they're like, sure, no problem. So I had all these really smart people saying nice things about it. I really tried to get a lot out of it. But there is no reason, because if you look at them, it is purely so in the future they can get brand deals and say, hey, I have all these followers. I have all these impressions. It always turns into that of like, grifting one thing into the next thing, into the next thing. Because then I didn't come up in the world of digital marketing, like proper adult digital marketing. I came up in what I call online marketing, where you traded one grift into the next. It was, and you would get really good at SEO and build all these niche sites. And then you would launch a course about how to make money with affiliates. And then you would launch a course about how to sell courses because you made so much with your affiliate marketing course. Then you made a course about SEO. Now you have two courses that make you money plus your course about courses. Now you've built a big email list. So now it's a course about email, but we're going to use the email list to launch a podcast. And now it's about podcasting. And now why not just have a conference, right? It was that sort of world that I came up in, just a snake eating its own tail. And I hated it because it was so clearly just one grift to the next. Just keep it moving. Do the next thing, let's launch a clothing brand. Oh, you made 100 grand last year. How to make 100 grand in a year. Like, no, don't. And brother, it's so bad. I don't think they're thinking. Then they're attracting weird mixed audiences. The platform rewards it. As far as I can tell, LinkedIn has no plans to stop rewarding that. I feel like Instagram does too, but you can use stuff on Instagram. You can use like ManyChat to actually deliver the thing immediately to them. You're genuinely opting in, and it's not a comment-based algorithm in the same way that LinkedIn is, right? So honestly, this is such a long-winded answer of I don't fucking know what they're optimizing for. Being annoying and awful.
They're winning. Yeah, they're winning at that.
They are winning at that. They're winning at getting a lot of impressions. I don't think they're thinking past this. I think it just feels like it's working. And then let's launch some sort of thing off of that. But you see that with a lot of people on Instagram that build big followings. They try to go direct to consumer. We're going to launch a clothing brand or a chai brand or something. And it just might not always go great because the people that love consuming your free stuff are not buyers. They're not paying you for anything. They're also not very senior people normally. I don't see a lot of very senior people that I respect and follow and stay up on commenting on those posts. So you're getting a really interesting audience that isn't the audience you probably want. But I just probably sound like a grouchy old man telling them that. Or they're like, okay, boomer, like I'm the one getting all the impressions. Okay.
Right. I mean, maybe, perhaps. But to your point, I agree with all of that. That actually like plagues my dreams at night. The whole like building a course and then the course is great. So you build a course on building courses and build a course. Like the whole thing stresses me out. I don't understand it. It feels like the eighth layer of Inception or the eighth layer of hell, actually.
Well, it's
And
like
it's
Tai
so
Lopez, right?
fascinating.
Like I'm here in my car in my garage with my Lamborghini and knowledge. And I feel like there's a generation of us that all saw his pre-roll videos on YouTube. And then the rented mansions and everything. And he was just swiping other people's personal development courses and repackaging it. And then he took all of that credibility and all of that fame and bought like, what did he buy? Like Pier 1 Imports and a couple other brands and tried to make them e-commerce only. But again, he was just buying one thing to trade to the next project, to the next project. And I think he's going to go to prison for fraud now because,
Oh, is he?
oh, yeah, it was just a Ponzi scheme of buying these 90s brands and trying to make them e-commerce. And it was just like borrowing money to pay the next, to pay the previous people, to pay the previous people. It doesn't change. So it'll scale up until it hits a breaking point. And then you're like, whatever happened to that person?
Yeah.
You know, because you can only be the online course person for so long. But I feel like
It's true.
that's the pipeline, right? We saw it on Twitter where it was like the NFT guys became crypto guys, became Web3 guys. Now they're all AI guys. Okay.
Well, and I think to your point, that's going to be the difference between like an AI influencer and an AI influencer with taste. Because obviously AI is here to stay. There are going to be people that are just kind of experts in the space or like thought leaders in the space who can usher us into this new era. But I would venture to say those are the people that have already developed a point of view and a perspective and taste from years before. And now they're just layering AI on top of it.
What I can't abide by is the whole like, it'll replace your whole brain. And I built this thing and whiz bang, the next week it's this and how to use this. And it's like a lot of us are just, including some really popular people that I've followed for a very long time. I don't know what you're optimizing for at this point, but it just seems like a constant. You see it with the call it like the podcast industrial complex, where the only way to keep growing your guest driven podcast is to have more and more sensationalized guests on your podcast. Every big one, Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, all of these ones, I think Sean Williams, they just have to get crazier and crazier clips, crazier and crazier guests, and don't question the guests. Let them say the most insane stuff possible because that's how we get the listens. But it just keeps getting worse and worse. And then you're like, whoa, this turned into like a weird conspiracy driven kind of like hate mongering, looks maxing, thinly veiled racist show. What's going on here? And that happens, I think, with the AI stuff too, where it's like, I got to create a more sensationalized thing. It's not enough to say Claude can run your SEO program anymore. Now it's like Claude can be your CMO. Jason Lemkin said this, which I think is an absolute crock of shit. He's like, I would never hire a VP of marketing ever again because AI is my VP of marketing. And I'm like,
oh my God,
man, you are still trading off of SaaStr being popular. Like it's a good event that people like going to, but I'm going to be honest with you. You're able to get away with a lot because you're a legacy brand and you don't understand that. And the shit you're doing is dumb and the stuff you're saying is horrifically dumb. But okay, like the thing that pisses me off is like that just gets marketers yelled at. CEOs see that and then they go back and yell at their marketing team, you know. Well-meaning CMOs see that. Well-meaning CMOs get fired because it's like, well, Claude could be our CMO, you know. Okay. And then you see the company dip or plateau. That part of the whole situation, I'm just so against. And that's the thing. I find myself like trying to delete comments that I want to post on LinkedIn all the time. I'm just tired of it. Anything that gets marketers yelled at, I will speak out against. And I try very hard not to create that type of content.
Well, I think marketers are an easy target for sure. And back to the job security. I mean, we're the first to go sometimes, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's just like comedy, right? We've all made people laugh before. We can't all do comedy.
Right.
Like I'm
exactly.
funny sometimes.
Yes.
I'm not always fun. I'm not professionally funny.
Yeah,
right?
Don't put me on stage.
Everybody's probably, you know, if you're a CEO, you've probably sold something at some point. You've probably marketed something at some point, but you are not a professional salesperson or a professional marketer. There's a difference. And I think people are forgetting that.
They do. They forget that for sure. I would agree.
The good news, if I can switch that to a message of hope, it does mean for those of us that are professionals and want a defensible career, you want to build a little moat. So no matter how bad things go, You'll always have your next job lined up. You'll have a million people waiting to hire you. You'll stay at your company as long as you would like to stay there. The stuff we've talked about today is definitely the path to do that. You definitely can do that. You are early on this stuff. And, could you imagine being early on the internet?
Oh,
That would
I
have been
would have loved
amazing.
that. Are you kidding?
I'd be Gary V. But like, that's where we are right now with some of this AI stuff. So you don't have to learn. If you're just listening to this podcast and trying some things, you're already at the tip of the spear. You're already at the 1% of the 1%. Just keep going.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also think, so great example. We often have brands that come to us like to verbatim and say like, hey, we're considering you, but we're also considering this AI powered influencer sourcing platform. We're going to try both. Like, we'll see how you do. We're going to compare you for the first month. Every single one, it's been at least 7, have nixed the AI powered whatever and gone with us. And so I think hopefully that's encouraging too. Like, a big part of the work we do is about taste. I know we've said this word 57,000 times, but we've developed taste.
Taste does not stop the scroll. I've been trying to think of how do I repackage this in a way that stops the scroll, because it's just like, gotta develop taste. Okay, guy, but there's something else there. The taste gap is already a thing. It means something a little bit different, but it's there. You're absolutely right.
No, it is. It definitely is. Okay, so in the last couple minutes, anything you would want an executive or a marketer to know that would help them?
Yeah. I think that let's do both sides of the fence. If you're new to a lot of AI and this tooling and everything like that, you can absolutely start small. I was very, very overwhelmed with all of this stuff. I don't have my own databases. I don't know like 99% of what my smart friends are talking about, but I am continually blown away by what some of this technology can do. Keep trying things. Buy the $100 a month Claude for a minute and just go nuts for a month. Try Claude Design, see what it can do, see what it can't do. Just try things. And if you're scared, find some good people to follow that have some interesting processes and just ask them like, hey, how did you build that? How does that work? And if it overwhelms you, they're not the person for you. Because I know people that love to make a career out of this shit. And it's like, relax. They're like, well, why would you copy and paste the transcript into Claude to analyze it when you could have it come here in MCP and then that connects to my Notion database and then it cross-references with the past product docs and this and
then inject it into your
already not
veins and just
listening.
hook your computer up to your head.
My
like, why
God.
don't you just? It's
Have
like,
you seen
okay.
that? There's a great, I think it might even be an outtake of Andy Dwyer from Parks and Rec where Amy Poehler's talking to him and he just starts like looking around and she goes, I lost him. He's not even paying attention anymore. That's how I feel. Sometimes people talk to me about this stuff and I'm like, whoa, weird. I'm just done. Now, if you're on the other side of the fence, you're already AI pilled and you love this stuff, your job is to make sure you have good enough taste that the stuff you're putting out is not just like technically correct or meets a need or checks a box. Your job is to push this stuff and not tell people look what I did with AI is a really good hook, because then people want to analyze it. It'll feel like it has good engagement. Don't tell a soul unless somebody, junior asks you, but you don't need to talk about it. Just do the job. You are at a very unique moment where you have a really cool skill set and you can get a lot done, hopefully really, really at a really high quality. That's what I'm doing with clients right now. I'm using AI to do a ton more work. I'm a one-person content agency and I wasn't in the past. I would never create content for my clients because I'm like, that's too much. You can't afford me. It's just, not to sound bougie, but it's not a cost-effective way to write this stuff or whatever. Now I can do everything. I have clients that have brought me in. They're like, hey, we love your LinkedIn. Can you help us with social? That became a part of my offer. Hey, love your newsletter. Can you help us with our newsletter? That became a part of the offer, as well as the SEO, AEO type of stuff. So I'm in the process now of being like, how hard can I push this tech to do really, really, really good work? That when humans read it, it's usually not a tactics debate. It's a quality debate. Jay Akunzo said that to me one time. It's always stuck with me. And that's where I'm leaning now. So if you're already in, your job is to make it really fucking good.
And if you're learning too, I think going back to something you said earlier, and I think I alluded to it too, start with something for fun too. Like this film platform thing that I'm building for myself serves no purpose except for making me happy and letting me nerd out and like understand my movie taste better. And I'm learning so much about building through it, like what good taste looks like in something like this too, how to build like a strong UX UI. Like if you want to do it for fun, that's not wasted time either.
It is not. Hobbies. One of my other friends, one point I told him this idea. I had him like, here's how it's going to make money and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I went through this whole idea with him. And he just goes, oh, hobbies are cool.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, you don't think it's a business? He's like, not everything has to be a business, dude. Just, you sound like
Just do it.
you're really excited about this. Just, it's a hobby. And I was like, oh shit, hobbies. I forgot. I had made every business, every hobby into a business. And I was like, oh yeah, I can just enjoy this.
It's a nice feeling. It really is.
It is. And I'm such a big believer in protecting the passion. I came up in the world of like, turn your passion into a business. You'll never work a day in your life. They're probably selling you a course on how to do that. Always. Fucking courses.
Of course they are.
God, there's just no reason to. It ruins your passion. And then when things are hard at work or in your personal life or you experience tragedy, you don't have a hobby. You don't have anything that brings you joy because that's work, right? And it's been soured or tainted in one way or another. So protect your passions, definitely, and do it for yourself. There's DIY and then there's what? DIFY. Do it yourself or do it for yourself.
Wait, I love that. I'd never heard that before. Love it. Well, thank you, Brendan. This was incredible, as usual. I really appreciate you stopping by. We'll drop the links to everything that you mentioned in the show notes, the YouTube creators, Warhammer, which I'm very excited to check out, all the good things. And if you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. For more on what's shaping the definition and demand around all the content we consume, you can sign up for the newsletter, link in the show notes. I'll see you in your feed. And in the meantime, Brendan and I will be launching a course on good taste generated by AI. And our first segment will be about burritos. Are they a sandwich?
Comment burrito for the course.
Thank you.